This is August 8th, 2000. I'm at GR41, the Hinckson and Bishop prospect. At least that's my best guess for what this is. There's a shaft and an adit shown on the topographic map on a little spur ridge on the east side of Healy Creek. And this is the waste dump for the adit, although the adit is actually driven into the hill from the east side, east to west, as opposed to the way it shows on the topo map. There's actually 3 shafts up above here on the ridge, not far up the hill. The adit is actually below one of those, probably connected with it. All 3 are caved, as is the adit here. Before I go and take a look at those, though, there are 2 collapsed log cabins over here in the trees. You can just see the edge of one of them right there in the center. And I'll go on over and we'll take a look at both of them. The other one's right behind this other tree. Okay, I'm looking back at the waste dump there for the adit. I've just come a short distance. I'm probably about 100 feet horizontally. And you can see this is the roof part of one section of the cabin. It actually looks like this was built in 2 kind of separate pieces. You can see the logs going across there, but then there does appear to be some cross beams between these 2. So I suspect they were separate cabins connected by either a covered entry or something like that. And the other cabin that's here is just over another 100 feet or so to the east. And it's also pretty well collapsed, although a couple of the walls are standing. I'm sure these date back to the Florence days. A little bit of sheet metal here. There's a couple pieces of wood stove lying around, and a few other pieces of scrap metal, but really not too much. I'll go on up and we'll take a look at the caved adit here, and then go on up the hill and look at the shafts. Well, this is looking down on the waste dump for the adit. You can see some fairly large trees growing out of the center of it on top. The 2 cabins are off through the trees over there. One's just kind of visible right there in the middle. And right here at the kind of the mouth of what would be the adit is a pit. So there could have been a shaft that was put in here later. The waste dump should mark kind of the adit level, but there's obviously a pit there. And then there's also a trough that extends back up the hill here a little bit. These little trees there are just in front of another little shallow collapse zone. And then the dump up there is for one of the shafts. So I'm sure that there was an adit here, probably connected with the shaft at the mouth as well. And there's really not a lot to see. So we'll go up and look at a couple of these cave shafts up here. They're pretty well sloughed in, but they are about 10 to 15 feet deep. So we'll go take a quick look at those. I've come up maybe 40 feet in elevation or so above the caved adit. And this is the shaft that's on top of the ridge just above the adit. I would guess it's 15 feet deep down to the bottom there. Probably about 20 feet in diameter. You can see some material mounted on the slope over there. And then over here as well. Again, some large trees growing out of it. So these are all really old. I'm guessing that the waste pile there is about 5 to 8 feet thick, maximum thickness, and it's just kind of humped out on the slope. I don't think it's really worth getting any kind of measurement on it. The other 2 shafts are off to the west here, and I'll just go over and quick take a look at those 2. Well, these 2 are actually a little bit to the southwest, I guess, rather than the west from the other one. This one's pretty deep down there. Again, go down through the hole. It's probably a good 15 feet deep, maybe 18 or so. Pretty steep walled, but could easily climb out of this. And it does appear to be completely caved. I don't see anything, any openings down there. Material's just kind of mounded around on the west side here. It's strung out a little bit to the west, pretty low little rib that runs out there, but doesn't really amount to too much. So that's probably about all the material as deep as this ever was, I suspect. The other pit is right beside it. It's not as deep. It's only maybe 8 feet deep and about probably 12 feet in diameter. See, this tree is falling across it. This pit over here is probably more like, again, about 20 feet in diameter or so. Then there's also several just little shallow cuts and a pit or two across on what appears to be the strike of the vein they must have been on at the adit. But other than that, there doesn't appear to be too much here. A little bit of scrap metal up here. Some old tin. Looks like another can down here. But really not much in the way of old metal or anything. Well, one more quick note here at the Hinckson and Bishop. The shaft, the deep shaft, is just past this tree here. And actually, all of this material coming out here is pretty much waste rock. And out here it goes down over, it's probably about 8 feet thick right here. So that could be a relatively deep shaft in the sense of maybe 50 feet or so, or possibly even a little deeper. But again, it does appear to be completely caved, and doesn't seem to be any problems up here that I can see.